Copilot podcasts. 2/3 of workers have never used AI on the job, not once. And yet, according to PwC's 2025 Global AI Jobs Barometer, 100% of industries are increasing their AI usage. That gap between where workers are and where the world is going is exactly where careers are being made or quietly left behind. Today, we're getting into what it actually means to be part of the AI revolution, what skills you need, why most people and companies are getting it wrong, and the concrete steps you can take starting this week to stop watching from the sidelines. By the end of this episode, you'll know which skills actually matter, where to get them for free, and the mindset shift that separates people who use AI from people who are transformed by it. I've got someone here who has been deep in this space, and I want to start with a question that I think a lot of people are quietly asking themselves. What does it even mean to be part of the AI revolution if you're not an engineer?
That's the right question to start with, because most people think the AI revolution is something that happens to engineers and data scientists, and everyone else just waits to see what they build. That framing is completely wrong in 2026.
Okay, so break that down for me.
So the Deloitte AI Institute just published findings from their AI Pulse Check series. They polled nearly 3,700 professionals across various fields. And what they found is that most organizations have moved way past questioning whether to use AI. That debate is over. The new problem is that nearly half of respondents, 48%, say their organization has introduced AI without redesigning the workflows or roles it sits within.
Wait, so they have the tools, but nothing actually changed?
Exactly. And Deloitte puts it really well. They say deploying a copilot is the easy part. Redesigning the work around it is the leadership test. So when you ask what it means to be part of the revolution, it means being one of the people who actually redesigns the work, not just one of the people who got access to a tool.
That's a really different way to think about it. It's less about the technology and more about the thinking.
Right. And Janet Lamb, writing for Forbes Business Council, makes this point really sharply. She says the challenge isn't the technology, it's that AI is still being treated as something separate from everyday business strategy. She argues that in 2026, treating AI as a standalone innovation project creates more confusion than clarity.
So it's not an IT project, it's a strategy question.
Exactly. And that reframe matters a lot for individuals too, not just companies. Because if you're waiting for your organization to hand you an AI strategy, you're already behind.
I want to bring in something I came across from Skill Scouter because they put it in a way that kind of stopped me cold. They said, and I'm quoting here, every job is an AI job now. Whether you're a marketer, a finance manager, an HR director. Does that hold up?
It does, and the data backs it up. PwC's 2025 Global AI Jobs Barometer found that 100% of industries are increasing their AI usage. Not most, all of them. So the idea that there's some safe corner of the economy where this doesn't apply, that's not really a thing anymore.
That's kind of a lot to sit with.
It is. But here's the thing, and this is where I think the conversation gets more hopeful. You don't need to be a machine learning engineer to participate meaningfully. Vance Ricks, who's an associate teaching professor in Northeastern's online graduate certificate in AI applications program, uses this analogy that I think is really useful. He says understanding AI is like understanding cars. Most people don't need to know how to build a car. But knowing enough about how cars work helps you make better decisions, which vehicle to buy, how to talk to a mechanic when something's wrong.
Oh, that's a good one. You don't need to be a mechanic to drive.
And Rick says explicitly, to be part of those conversations about AI in your organization, you really have to have some understanding of what these systems are and how they work. Not deep technical knowledge, just enough to engage meaningfully.
So let's get into the stakes here because I think people need to feel the urgency before they'll actually act. What happens if someone just doesn't engage with this?
The PwC data is pretty stark on this. Workers with AI skills have a 56% wage premium over workers without AI skills in the same job. Same role, same company, 56% more pay just for having those skills.
56%. That's not a small edge. That's a completely different salary bracket.
And then you layer on the Gallup finding that only 4% of workers use AI daily on the job. So the gap between where most people are and where the premium is, that gap is enormous, and it's still very much closable.
Okay, so the opportunity is real. Now I want to get into the actual skills because I think this is where people get overwhelmed. Like, where do you even start?
So Talent LMS and e-learning industry put out a guide on the 13 essential AI skills. And what's interesting is that the list is not all technical. Yes, there's data literacy, machine learning, prompt engineering, but there's also critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, communication, and change management.
Wait, emotional intelligence is an AI skill?
In the sense that AI can't replace the human judgment, the empathy, the relationship building that makes work meaningful and effective, yes. The argument is that as AI handles more cognitive tasks, the distinctly human skills become more valuable, not less.
That's actually kind of reassuring. Like, you're not starting from zero just because you're not a coder.
Exactly. And there's a concept from talent expert Sagar Goel that I think everyone should know about. He calls it the half-life of skills. His point is that today, the half-life of a skill is about 5 years, meaning every 5 years, roughly half of what you know becomes redundant. AI is the main driver of that acceleration.
5 years. That's not a lot of runway.
It's not. But it also means that the people who build a habit of continuous learning, not a one-time certification, but an ongoing practice, are the ones who stay relevant. And the good news is the barrier to entry has genuinely never been lower.
Let's talk about that because I think cost and access are real concerns for a lot of people. What's actually available?
So Forbes contributor Caroline Castrillon put together a piece on building AI skills, and she highlights that OpenAI Academy offers expert-led workshops, online tutorials, and community engagement designed for real-world applications, and it's free. Anthropic has also launched a course called AI Fluency, Framework and Foundations, developed with professors at University College Cork and Ringling College of Art and Design.
And what's the philosophy behind that Anthropic course? Like, what are they actually trying to teach?
Professor Rick Dakan, one of the co-developers, explains it really well. He says they created the framework because people need more than better prompts. They need practical skills for knowing when to delegate to AI, how to evaluate its output, and when to maintain human judgment. That last part is key. Knowing when not to use AI is as important as knowing how to use it.
Huh. That's a nuance I don't think gets talked about enough. It's not just use AI more, it's use it strategically.
Right. And SkillScouter reviewed 7 courses for non-technical professionals in 2026, and their top pick is AI for Everyone on Coursera from deeplearning.ai. You can audit it for free or get the certificate for $49. They also highlight Google AI Essentials as the best free practical course and Elements of AI from the University of Helsinki as the best completely free foundation course.
So there's genuinely no excuse of I can't afford it here.
Not really, no. The barrier is more about intention and consistency than access. Castrion's piece also recommends focusing on practical applications specific to your role, identifying repetitive tasks in your workflow, experimenting with tools, and documenting what works. That documentation piece is underrated, by the way.
Why is documenting it important?
Because when you go to talk to a manager about your AI skills or you're in a performance review, you have actual evidence. It's not, I've been playing around with ChatGPT. It's, here are the workflows I've improved and here's the measurable outcome. That's a completely different conversation.
Okay, I want to push back a little here because I think there's a version of this conversation that sounds like just take a course and you're fine. But the Deloitte data suggests that even organizations with AI tools aren't actually transforming. So what's missing?
That's the right push. And I think the missing piece is what Deloitte calls redesign. They found that only 12% of organizations have redesigned at scale with a new operating model behind it. 37% begin by fully owning one workflow, testing it, then scaling up. But nearly half are just adding AI without any redesign at all.
So they're just putting a new engine in an old car and wondering why it doesn't drive differently.
That's exactly it. And Deloitte says organizations still running AI on pre-AI process maps will face a compounding disadvantage, not just slower execution, but structurally higher costs and less flexibility as competitors redesign around AI-native workflows.
So for an individual, what does that mean practically? Like, how do you avoid being the person who just has the tool but hasn't changed anything?
Innovation Hub Live's 2026 playbook has a really practical answer to this. They say, start with a clear problem statement, not a technology solution. What specific challenge are you trying to solve? Is it customer service? Is it how long it takes you to compile a report? Is it the back and forth in your email inbox? Start there, then find the AI application that fits.
Problem first, tool second. That's almost the opposite of how most people approach it.
Completely opposite. Most people see a shiny tool and try to find a use for it. The people who actually get value start with the pain point and work backwards. And Janet Lamb makes a similar point in Forbes. She says ownership doesn't mean owning AI tools or platforms. It means owning the business outcome AI is meant to improve.
Can you give me a concrete example of what that looks like?
Sure. Lamb uses sales as an example. If you're a head of sales, you don't own the AI tool, you own sales cycle reduction. So you evaluate AI based on lead response time, close rate, deal velocity. If those numbers improve, the approach works. If they don't, you change the strategy. That's a business decision, not an AI decision.
I love that framing. It takes the mysticism out of it.
And it also makes it measurable, which is how you build a case for yourself internally. The DataCamp 2026 Enterprise Survey of over 500 leaders across the US and UK found that organizations that invest in structured AI upskilling are nearly twice as likely to report significant ROI. So the investment in learning pays off, but only when it's structured and tied to real outcomes.
Nearly twice as likely. That's a significant multiplier.
It is, and yet the same survey notes that most workforces remain unprepared despite rising baseline expectations for AI literacy. So there's this widening gap between what organizations expect and what their people actually know how to do.
That gap is both a problem and an opportunity, depending on which side of it you're on.
Exactly. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually has a useful perspective on this. Their research shows that while there have been many claims about new technologies displacing jobs, displacement tends to take longer than technologists typically expect. Various technologies have had occupational impacts throughout history, but many affected occupations have still seen employment growth.
So the AI is going to take all the jobs tomorrow narrative is probably overstated.
The BLS data suggests the timeline is longer and more gradual than the headlines imply. But, and this is important, gradual doesn't mean you have unlimited time. The wage premium is happening now. The skill gap is widening now. The organizations redesigning their workflows are pulling ahead now.
So the urgency is real, even if the apocalypse isn't.
That's a good way to put it. And I think the community piece is underrated in this conversation. Castrion's Forbes piece specifically recommends joining AI communities. OpenAI Academy has community groups for peer-to-peer learning, and there are industry-specific AI groups on LinkedIn and Discord where professionals share real-world use cases and troubleshoot challenges together.
So it's not just solo learning, there's a network dimension to this.
Absolutely. And Innovation Hub Live's playbook recommends actively participating in at least one industry-specific technology forum or professional group monthly. Not just lurking, actually engaging. That's where you find out what's actually working in your specific field, not just what's theoretically possible.
I want to come back to something you said earlier about the half-life of skills, because I think it connects to a bigger mindset question. If skills are expiring every 5 years, how do you even plan a career around that?
The Talent LMS piece addresses this directly. They say the shift is from AI as a solo performance to AI as a partnership. Professional work has evolved into a collaboration between humans and AI systems. So the career question isn't what skills do I lock in, it's how do I stay in a learning posture permanently?
A learning posture. I like that.
And the skills that support that posture, growth mindset, critical thinking, change management, those are on the Talent LMS list of 13 essential AI skills for a reason. They're the meta skills that make all the other skills learnable.
So in a weird way, the most important AI skill might be the ability to keep learning AI skills.
That's not a weird way to put it. That's actually exactly right. And it's why the Innovation Hub Live playbook recommends dedicating at least 10 hours per week to structured learning for the first 3 months when you're starting out. Not binge learning, not random YouTube videos, structured, consistent practice.
10 hours a week is real commitment. That's like a part-time job on top of your actual job.
It is. But they also recommend implementing at least 2 AI-powered automation tools in your daily workflow within 6 months. So it's not just learning in the abstract, it's learning by doing, in your actual work context. That's how it sticks.
And for people who genuinely don't know where to start with that, like what are 2 tools that would actually make a dent in most people's workflows?
The iInstitute AI Literacy course for non-technical professionals specifically mentions tools like Zapier AI and Make for workflow automation, and Excel Copilot and Tableau Pulse for data analysis and reporting. Those are practical, no-code tools that don't require any programming background.
No code is such a game changer for this conversation, because I think a lot of people hear AI skills and immediately think they need to learn Python.
And Castrion's Forbes piece is explicit about this. You don't need to understand machine learning algorithms to develop AI skills. The focus should be on how AI can solve problems in your specific role. That's the entry point for most people.
Okay, so when you step back from everything we've covered today, here's what I'm taking away. The AI revolution isn't a spectator sport, but it's also not a credential race. It's about intentional integration.
That's the thread that runs through all of it. The Deloitte data, the Forbes analysis, the skill frameworks, they all point to the same thing. The people and organizations winning aren't the ones with the most AI tools. They're the ones who've actually changed how they work.
And the entry point for that change is smaller than most people think. It's not become a data scientist. It's pick a problem, find a tool, document what happens, and share what you learn.
Exactly. And the wage premium data from PwC makes the stakes really concrete. A 56% pay difference in the same role is not a rounding error. That's the financial argument for taking this seriously, even if the philosophical argument doesn't move you.
And the community piece matters too. You don't have to figure this out alone. There are free courses, free communities, free tools. The barrier is genuinely lower than it's ever been.
The DataCamp survey finding is worth repeating here. Organizations that invest in structured AI upskilling are nearly twice as likely to report significant ROI. So if you're trying to make the case internally for your own development budget, that's your number. Nearly twice the return.
Here's what I keep coming back to, though. The Brookings Institution framed it this way. The central labor market challenge of AI may not be which workers or jobs are most disrupted, but how AI reshapes the career pathways that connect people to better jobs. That's a fundamentally different question than will AI take my job?
It's a much more useful question because it shifts the focus from fear to navigation. The path to a better job might now run through AI literacy in a way it didn't 5 years ago. That's not a threat, that's a map.
A map. I love that. Okay, so here's the punchy version of everything we just said. Remember that stat we opened with? 2/3 of workers have never used AI on the job. That's not a warning. That's a wide open lane.
And the lane is still open. The 56% wage premium, the nearly doubled ROI from structured upskilling, the free courses from OpenAI and Anthropic, all of that is available right now to anyone willing to start. The revolution isn't something you watch, it's something you join.
Pick your problem, find your tool, start this week. That's it. Thanks for being here on Copilot Podcasts. And if you're one of that 2/3 who hasn't touched AI at work yet, well, now you've got no excuse.